Okay, so now let's consider the second of our two options for how we can ground the ground loop of our ground cord. What the camera's pointed towards here is I pulled the access panel in one of the walls of my bedroom that leads to the pipes for the shower. And I'll try and get a shot of it directly. I live in a basement floor apartment, but for example, this pipe I can see goes directly into the ground. And if I kind of tap on it, it's very clearly not a plastic pipe. That's a good old metal pipe. So that's going to work for us. So to attach our loop to this pipe, we can buy special made connectors just for that purpose, or if you want to do it the convenient way, you can buy just a regular old worm drive hose clamp that you can buy at any auto parts store or hardware store that you turn with the regular old flat blade screwdriver. These will cost you maybe $1. So let's go ahead and attach that to our pipe that we see is going nicely into the ground. Okay, one final tighten, and there we go, just nice and snug. That'll do it. So now we have our ground cable nicely attached to a ground. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to check and make sure that that ground is as good as we think it is. Okay, so now that we've physically made our connection between the loop end of our ground cord and what we believe to be metal physically going into the ground, the next thing we want to do is check that connection. Now in the case of the previous shot, for me living in a basement floor apartment, it was definitely very clear that that was a metal pipe and that it was physically going into the ground. But if you're doing this on, say, the first floor or the second floor of a house or apartment, or if you own a newer house and you have plastic pipes, say, or you're connecting something to a radiator and you're really not all that sure that that radiator is definitely going into the ground, you definitely want to verify that that ground that seemed to be good is in fact good. So the next step that we're going to do is what I showed previously, where you verify that the ground of one of your mains outlets is good. Then we're going to want to connect one lead of our meter to that known good outlet ground. And then we're going to want to, for the moment, leave the other lead disconnected and observe the voltage that we see. And you'll notice two things about the voltage. For one thing, it's significant. It's currently about 330 millivolts AC. And the second thing we'll notice is that it's fluctuating quite a bit. That's what we would expect, since this probe is not touching anything. Now we want to next take the probe that wasn't touching anything and connect it to the banana jack end, or banana jack opening rather, of this end of the ground cord, that is where the other end of course is connected to our metal pipe. And what we should see is that voltage that's now both significant and fluctuating should stabilize, decrease dramatically. And that's going to tell us that the ground that this is connected to is just as good as the mains ground that we verified. And there we go. The voltage dropped from anywhere, it was fluctuating from like 300 to 500 millivolts AC, and it pretty much instantly dropped to a dead, solid, steady 19.3 millivolts AC. So this ground we know now is as good as the mains ground that we verified earlier. So that's definitely all set. Now we just have to make the final connections to our mat. So here we are back at our ESD mat, and using one of the two methods we've just seen, we've successfully grounded the loop end, the other end of this ground cord. So now we can attach this end to the snap on the mat, and now our mat's grounded. And then we're going to want to take the banana jack end of the wrist strap cord, plug it in, and then connect the other end of the wrist strap cord to our wrist strap. And now, as soon as we put our wrist strap on, our entire body's grounded. So now we can reach for our static sensitive 18F4550s, take them out of their ESD bag, pop off this retainer here, and slide out our 18F4550s and be confident that since we're still grounded, we're not doing any ESD damage to these chips at all. So our ESD station is all set up and good to go.